Welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your co-host J.R. Stewart.
And good evening, everyone. I'm your co-host Tommy Duncan. Welcome.
I want to give a big shout out to Liquid for providing our theme music. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Not necessarily in that order, but make sure you get all three of them done. And Tom, what is our topic for tonight? What are we going to enlighten our listeners with tonight?
Well, Jimmy, we're going to talk about the biggest news. Well, among the biggest stories right now, which of course is the death of motorist Daunte Wright, a fatal shooting with an encounter with law enforcement.
Okay. Tom, it seems like we have these about every 3 or 4 months. I know the frequency is going down over the last few years, but still, every time it happens,
As it should.
white cop shoots black male motorist or male
Or
period
female, or female.
or female.
Yeah,
Okay, or female or black person. Let's just say black person. White
yeah.
cop, black person shot, killed. Um, then there's always an outcry. You know what, Tom? Here's what I don't get. Why is it that we have not figured out that resisting arrest, running from cops, and allowing a situation to escalate to a point where an officer feels they have to grab a weapon, those things never ever turn out good for us. Never. And it's not like people have stories where I was pulled over, a cop wanted to arrest me because I had an outstanding warrant. I got into a struggle with him. I was able to get away. The second cop, was chasing me. I got away from that cop, and I found $1 on the ground. I picked it up. I decided to go into the convenience store and buy a lottery ticket and won $100 million. And if the cops hadn't been chasing me, I would have never ran across that dollar, would have never bought that lottery ticket. Happy ending. Tom, there are never ever happy endings on these stories. But
True.
somehow we just keep repeating the same pattern of allowing things to escalate. Why aren't we teaching our people not to let the situation escalate to a point where an officer has to pull a gun out? Because once that happens, there's a good chance that it's not going to end well for you.
You're exactly right. Even if you are doing the right thing, it can not end up well for you. Jimmy, can you hear me okay? I hear a little bit
Yeah.
of an echoing. Okay, good deal. Just want to make sure because I'm hearing a little bit of an echo on my side. But yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, Jimmy. And, as we know, whether it's on the street, whether it's in corporate America, there have always been two sets of rules in America. Those for the set of rules for those in power, and the set of rules for those who don't have power, whether it comes to a corporate community, law enforcement, and right now, obviously, we're dealing with law
Tom, when
enforcement.
you
So,
say don't have power, the mayor of the little town is black. I'm not sure
um,
the city.
yeah,
I'm not sure the
but
city
yeah, but
council makeup is. Well, the
mhm.
chief of police, whoever the head of
Well,
police is.
we're not talking about the mayor per se, but we're talking about if
Why
you're
not?
out
Is
on the
that not the
street.
mere part of the power structure?
What I'm suggesting is I'm talking about you're talking about an instant of a couple of seconds in life and death. And so what I'm saying is I'm saying for that young man,
Right.
he is not in a position of power. And so when I say there are two sets of rules, there are two sets of rules.
And Tom, if I'm pulled over, I'm not in a position of power when dealing with
Correct.
an officer who has a gun. But you know
Correct.
what? I'm not fearful for my life either.
Hmm.
Because I know whatever the situation is, I'm going to get a ticket. I'm going to get a warning. And most likely, I mean, I haven't received a ticket in, I don't know, 25, 30 years. It's something I don't even give a second thought to. But at worst, I'm going to get a ticket. And even if I'm asked to step out of the car and placed under arrest, I mean, I'm pretty sure my lawyer will come get me out and it will be taken care of. So the thought of resisting, talking back, being disrespectful, running never even crosses my mind. Not once.
You're right, Jimmy, but and maybe you've always been like this, and I know you've always been a very smart person, but you've got to understand that the average, late teenager, 20 something, even young 30 something year old, is dealing with fear more so than they are dealing with ration and logic. And considering, the trauma that our community has gone through for, I don't know, since we've been here hundreds of years now, somebody that unfortunately somebody, and he's just 20 years old, so he barely had his life or the rest of his life ahead of
He had
him.
a whole life ahead
Just
of him. That is true.
just isn't thinking like that. I can remember very very clearly, not as if it was today, but if it was maybe a couple of days ago, when I was driving home from school while I was in college, driving my little white car, and I was in like a small streetway. I wasn't even on a highway, and I was driving the speed limit, and I get stopped. And not only did I get stopped by one car or one police car, as soon as they stopped me, there are three or four other cars that roll up with their lights on. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? And you know, the only the only law I had broken was fitting the profile of someone purportedly that they were looking for,
Right.
who just so happened to be driving a white car, which I had a white car at the time.
Okay.
And so, at the end of the day, fortunately, I
Now,
lived through it.
I'm
I
sorry
walked
you.
through it.
I'm sorry you went through the experience, Tom, but it doesn't sound
Yeah, but,
nefarious,
but,
though.
but I understand. But this is the whole point. When you go through multiple iterations of that, being stopped, quite frankly, not for breaking the law, but just for being the wrong color, you have a tendency to get a little bit anxious or edgy, even when you're just driving and aren't doing anything wrong, and you just see a police car, just because of your
Well,
experiences,
Tom.
and because unfortunately young black men or even older black men don't get the benefit of the doubt as not being a inherent threat to the law enforcer's life who has a gun in their holster when
Right.
you don't.
Well, Tom, all I can say is, like I said, sorry you went through that experience, but you know, acting on suspicions is still part of the job. So
Mhm.
we can't necessarily get around that or try because if you take away that aspect of the job, then really there is no policing. Policing is about probable cause and suspicions, and those need to be reasonable. They can't be unreasonable. So if they're looking for someone in a white car and you were driving a white car, then they have to go around and check all the white cars out as best they
Right.
can.
The point that I was making is why, to your point, the response that you get from folks is because of the anxiety of either being directly or indirectly programmed by a society that feels that your color and or your culture is a threat.
Well, Tom, that just goes without saying.
Right.
I mean, every study I've seen that tests the quick response of officers, and it doesn't matter what color they are, male, female, black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. They all tend to err and pull the trigger a little quicker. It was like a few tenths of a second quicker when the person or image is black versus any other color. So,
Absolutely.
with that being
Program
said,
made.
yeah, so with that being said, we need to teach our people, especially our young people, how to stay alive. Do not we should stop this nonsense of trying to be defiant, trying to be bad, trying to stand up. That is not those are not qualities or properties that lend to long-term living when it comes to law enforcement. So for now, just do as you're told. Just follow their instructions. If they abuse their authority, live to file a complaint and fight another day. Do not allow it to escalate to a point where this person now feels threatened, they pull their gun out, because that is not going to end well for you. There's a good chance, if you're lucky, the gun goes back into the holster. But there's a good chance that the gun may accidentally discharge. He may get nervous. Somebody's hands are shaking. The trigger is very sensitive. None of these things work in your favor, so don't let it get to that point.
I got you.
So
Unfortunately, for a lot of cases that we're seeing, Jimmy, something that is considered a very minor infraction ends up being a loss of life. And
yes, Tom.
and quite frankly, people are protesting because they're sick of it.
Well, let me say this. Now, you do have the group Antifa um, in certain cities like Seattle and Portland, and I think even Columbus. They're trying to vandalize police stations. I mean, these are people who have come together to do damage to police stations, and they're a white organization. But you know what, Tom? They live to tell their story the next day, and
You
it
want to know why they do? Because more than likely they're whiter than the folks who end up being on the wrong side of the barrel of the
they
gun.
are, and that
Because I can guarantee you, if that was Black Lives Matter destroying a bunch of police officers, there would be a lot of arrested people and a fair share of dead people. I can almost guarantee it.
well, the Black Lives Matter have their moments too, but they have to have large numbers to protect them.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, smaller Antifa groups can go in and fight against cops and destroy property.
And they know that,
And
Jimmy.
live the
They
time.
know
I agree with you, Tom.
they
This is
know
why I say it's
what
important.
Paul Mooney, they know what Paul Mooney says when he says they have the complexion for the protection.
Yeah, so Tom, this is why it's important to teach our folks, our young people especially, how to bring the temperature down and don't let it escalate to the point of violence. Never ever when someone's dealing with you who has a gun, do not let that get out of control. It is your responsibility. Don't place it on the officer, because if the officer makes a mistake and you're dead, guess what? You're still dead at the end of the story. And you don't want to be dead when you're a young person. You want to die of natural causes and live your life out. I mean, that's your ultimate end of your story. Don't let it be, that you died at the hands of an officer because it got out of control. They may go to jail. They may not. It's very difficult to convict cops. So we have the Chauvin trial. I think is going on now,
Yes, it is.
and I believe the young lady who shot Mr. Wright has been charged with second
Yep,
degree
she has.
manslaughter.
She was charged and put in Hennepin County jail, and of course she's been released on bond.
Okay, so there's a good chance that they may plead that case out, Tom. If they're starting off with second degree
I think that,
manslaughter,
and I'm pretty sure they're going to settle.
yeah, because second degree manslaughter is like 2 to 5 year sentence, and if you reduce it down to involuntary or third degree manslaughter, she may be looking at 12 months in jail on a 24
Jimmy,
month sentence.
I would be very surprised if she gets any time in jail. To be honest with you,
No,
and
she
it's for,
she she's gonna. I mean, or negligent homicide, because she was negligent. Now, no,
she
she
was.
by her own admission, she even if she was trying to get a taser gun, even if you pulled it out thinking it was a taser gun, still is questionable as to whether you had to pull the trigger at that point.
Of
Uh,
course.
so at the very least, she's negligent. So she may get a third degree negligent homicide, which may land her with a 24, 25 month sentence. And if she goes to jail and do 12 months and stay out of trouble, she may get 2 for 1 on served time, on time served, and be out. But the point is, Tom, she's getting on in her life. This young man is dead.
Exactly. And it's not. He's dead. His family has lost a son, and he was a father, and so his child has lost a father, and I guess so. We're blaming it on him for being anxious and excited
No, no. What I'm
for.
saying is, Tom, is that we need to make sure we teach our young people how to de-escalate situations. Don't
Well,
don't
shouldn't that not be the
Tom.
job of law
Okay, so
enforcement
you
as
can go with
well
this
to
should stuff
de-escalate?
again. Here
No,
we
I'm
go.
serious.
In a
I mean,
perfect world,
they're the ones who have death in their
in a
hands.
perfect world, Tom,
I
which
mean,
we which we don't
this
live in.
this is the problem. And I understand. I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong in principle, but if they can treat a white person like a human being, why can they not be trained to
Tom,
treat a black
because
person like
there's
a human being?
because our society does not allow for that. This is not a necessarily it's not necessarily a white black cop issue,
It
because
is.
hold
Well,
on, Tom.
no,
Hold
it's a
on,
white or
Tom.
black. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so it's not a white black cop issue, because all cops
I would
sort of
agree. I
all
would agree.
cops kind of have that same feeling
I
and
would agree.
sentiment and reaction. We've
Okay.
tested enough law enforcement departments, and the results are pretty much all the same. That trigger comes out and it gets squeezed a lot quicker when black face is what you're pointing at. So we know that. But it's not a perfect world. Since we know it's not a perfect world, let's control what we can control. We can't control the reaction time of an officer. We can't control his or her fears. We can't control how they perceive the world, how they perceive black people. We can
Why?
control it.
Why can't we? Because let me ask you this, Jimmy. The same forces that have created how they perceive black people,
All right.
the same forces should be able to create how they see them as human beings as opposed to criminals.
Okay, Tom, and so I don't walk in those shoes. I wouldn't do that job. doesn't pay enough, and then you have to deal with some of the worst elements of society all the damn
True.
time. But on top of
True.
that, if I go to work knowing that I'm 4 times more likely to die by a black person, there's a good chance I'm gonna do my absolute best to stay away from black people. In this situation, you have to enforce the law, so you just can't necessarily. Although some agencies do this, in Baltimore and a few other cities, they do the absolute best to just stay out of black areas and stay away from black criminals to keep from putting themselves in a situation where they have to enforce the law. Something happens and they find themselves being tried for a crime. So with that being said, we say, well, why don't they treat us like they treat everyone else? Well, cops are more likely to be killed or injured by a black person than any other group. So that lends to their fears. They have families too. They have kids. They have wives. They have spouses that they want to go home to.
So what you're saying is kill them before they kill us. Is
No,
that what
Tom,
you
I'm
mean?
saying that factors into how they perceive and how they deal with blacks versus anybody else. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I understand it, and but because I understand it, I use knowledge to my advantage to make sure that if I'm in a situation, I'm dealing with a law enforcement officer, that I'm going to do my absolute best to diffuse the situation. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to follow the instructions. I don't care what it is. If I think you're wrong, fine. I'll take the ticket. I'll go file a report later on.
That sounds very good in principle,
No,
Jimmy.
Tom, that it has to be that way in life
But
because
Jimmy, I'm not disagreeing with you in principle, but what I'm suggesting to you that when you are stopped by a law enforcement officer, and
right,
especially for overzealous, aggressive law enforcement officers,
right.
pretty much like, for instance, though not just this one, but also the same law enforcement officers that stopped the brother who was a military veteran in Virginia who was trying to comply with what they asked, and he still did not get the better end of that deal. He ended up getting capped.
That is
But
true,
but but
Tom.
but my suggestion is this: look, these folks are being paid by our tax dollars to protect and defend everybody, not just white folk, or not just folks who they don't feel are a threat to them. And you know what? If they're dealing with a criminal, we're talking about somebody who is a drug dealer, gang banger, we might be having a different conversation. But that's not the conversation we're having with this particular young man. So he doesn't have to be said. So I agree with you in terms of diffusing the issue. But quite frankly, especially someone that young and you're black and you're male, by default, you are automatically very anxious and very nervous. And unfortunately, a lot of law enforcement officers know they have the power. And so as a result, they take that into their own hands and unfortunately create more trauma directly in front of trauma that's already there.
Okay,
It should
Tom.
not, I mean, I'm telling you, if I'm 19 or 20 years old and I'm already anxious and afraid of law enforcement, then I'm not thinking about, okay, how do I diffuse this situation?
Well,
That is not the first thing that comes
well,
to
Tom, you
mind.
know what? It should be. And if we stop with this nonsense that cops are here killing black people, uh, then we're contributing to the fear and anxiety that we say our young people are going through. So let's stop contributing to it. Let's stop with this narrative that white cops are out here hunting down black people
What
because
is
it's
your
not
okay?
true.
So
But
what
I
would
was
your
going to say
plan?
was check
What
the
would your plan be to do
check
that?
the check the chat line.
Institutional.
We have someone who chimed in on the chat line. So let's uh let's see what the response is and respond to it. Or let's see what the comment is and respond to it.
Regardless of the reason for response of black people to police, their aggressive response is not serving them well.
Okay. So that is I will concur with that. So obviously, talking back, resisting arrest, trying to run from officer has not served us well. Like I said, I have yet to see one of them stories where this has happened, and the person ended up telling the I'm set for life story, happy ending. I'm glad I was pulled over by the police. Never has that happened, Tom. So since we know that these narratives tend to be bad when we do these things, let's start teaching our young people not to do it. Period.
Just wait just a second, Jimmy. I think we may have a caller.
Okay.
Yes, black men speak. Black men speak. May I help you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Jimmy. Can you hear our caller?
Yes. Go ahead, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, caller. Thank you for joining us and thank you for calling
Okay.
in. What say you? Are you there, caller?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. So, Tommy, I say I totally get where you're coming from,
But,
but
The butt monkey.
this
but,
young man was like we paint these people like they're
Heroes.
saints, and
but,
this young man they were trying to arrest.
I think the caller is breaking up. I
yeah,
think what she's saying is that
she was trying
the
to arrest.
And this man, they were trying to arrest this man for attempted aggravated
Mhm.
robbery
Correct.
on a female.
okay. So
I
the,
think
the
she's
the
breaking up.
outstanding warrant was for not just for robbery but aggravated robbery, which
Yeah.
means that he had to have a weapon, some type, probably a knife or a
So
gun.
it's not like it was some innocuous.
Yeah, the caller's breaking up. So we get the
Yeah.
gist of what she's saying is that he wasn't an angel. It's basically what she's saying. We tend to elevate these people to hero status. I mean, like in the case of George Floyd. Um, but these people are not the kind of people that you want your children to emulate. You don't want your son or daughter to grow up to be robbing people with a knife or a gun to pick up an aggravated robbery charge. So, you want to go ahead and respond, or do you want me to respond first?
Go ahead and respond, Jimmy. And I'd like to say thank you for calling in, and we appreciate you. And of course, continue to call back. Thank you very much.
Yes. So I agree with the caller's sentiment that we have to make sure that we don't become overzealous in our desire to paint a picture of right and wrong. I mean, there's some blame to go here. So we're not going to say that he's all the blame is on him, all the innocence is on the cop. That's not the case at all. I mean, this is tragic on both sides. Two lives are getting ready to be lost, but his more so than hers.
Well, one
Um,
life. Yes, of
well,
course.
I mean, she's going to have her life disrupted too. She's going to lose her pension, her job. She's going to go to
Well,
jail.
you're right. But you're right. But she's going to live to see another day. She has a
And I
future.
don't know if she has siblings, parents,
I'm sure she
children.
has a family.
So,
I'm sure she has family, colleague, and friends, of
I
course.
mean, there are other lives going to be affected by this downstream of just the two of them, and that's the point. Is that, but he has a lot more to lose in this situation than anyone else. So it's incumbent upon him to make sure that or if you find yourself in this situation, young people, do everything you can to make sure you live to tell the story the next day. Don't in a sense of some greater sense of fairness. We don't live in a Gentile world, idyllic, fairness, and that's not the world we live in. Understand where you are. And if you're a black person, also understand that law enforcement are going to be a little more concerned about you than anyone else. With that knowledge, do everything you can to diffuse any situation that's just by cooperating and being friendly. I don't care how wrong you are. I know you may not want to go to jail, but still, I'd much rather go to jail and live than to resist. And you're not going to get away in that situation because they have you there. Um, I've yet to see too many car chases or escapes where people actually get away from cops. It doesn't happen that frequently. So the odds are not with you in trying to run. So just go ahead and capitulate, put the cuffs on, go to jail. Live another day to tell a story.
Fight or flight. He flew, and he was killed. She will live to see another day.
She
Yeah,
will.
her career. I mean, she was 48. He's 20 years old. And I don't disagree with you in principle in terms of being rational enough to manage the situation as a 20-year-old when you have some folks who, quite frankly, have the authority to threaten your life, if not take your life, which unfortunately in this case did happen. And so I would agree with you that we do need to talk to our not just children or young people, but as a community, there's a lot of change. I think we have another caller here.
Okay, and then we have two more comments on the chat line too. One
Black men
directly.
speak. Black men speak. Welcome.
Thank you. I just like to make a comment that I've been hearing both of you speak, and then the caller that called before to talk about the sins of the young man and what his record was and what they were trying to do. Yes, that's all facts. Yeah, he was wanted on those things. But does it warrant him being killed?
No.
My thing is this. You have trained officers that supposedly gone through weeks and weeks and probably months of training. From what I understand, they have a taser on the weak side of their body. So let's just say if you're right-handed, your taser is going to be on the left, and it's even turned in another direction. And your firearm is on your strong side, whatever that may be. Usually for most people, it's right-handed. So what I'm trying to understand is how you lost all your training faculties and said, hey, I realize that I'm drawing from my strong side over here rather than my weak side, and I pulled the trigger. Regardless of what that young man did, he could have been wanted for killing a whole mountain of people. But his life shouldn't have ended on some accident, quote unquote. So I say that nobody's saying, oh, somebody's better than somebody, or, these people, as I heard the caller say, are not heroes. Nobody's making him out to be a hero. But everybody deserves to live and have a fair chance to be tried or through the justice system of which we know is crap. But what I'm saying is, it shouldn't even be spoken of about him. Yes, he did. He shouldn't have tried to have run. He shouldn't have tried to get away. Yeah. But should he have been shot and killed accidentally? So what I say is, let's take the focus off the young man, and let's put the focus on this cop who was supposed to have 26 years veteran.
Yeah.
And she didn't know her strong side from her weak side. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Accidents on.
Thank you very much, caller. Very, very good points.
Yeah, thank you. Tom, all I can say to the caller is, of course, some of you guys may know or may not know, I'm a former Marine officer, Special Forces. I served in reconnaissance, highly trained by our government. And if I think I was a month and a half from having to go to for Desert Storm. I got out right before the official cutoff date for Desert Storm. But if I had gone, I would have told the guys who served with me that you don't have my permission to die over here. In fact, I tell this story to my wife all the time, that if I had gone, I'd be in San Quentin right now, Leavenworth. They would have locked me up because I would have shot everybody that I thought was a threat to me. There's no way in the world I'm going overseas to die. I'm coming home one way or the other. Either I'm coming home a hero, I'm coming home in handcuffs, but I'm coming home one way or the other. The rules of engagement were quite stringent over there. A lot of my fellow Marines are locked up now because they didn't put their lives on the line over silly rules of not shooting people who don't comply with you when they're trying to kill you. Now that's an extreme situation. Here, she brings up a good point. These are highly trained law enforcement officers. But the fact still remain, they're trying to get home and live also. And when they feel their life is on the line, you don't know what adrenaline does to the body.
I would agree.
All of that common sense thinking and training goes out the window.
There we go. And Jimmy, that is the point there. If you're talking about law enforcement officers who are trained over years, and this was a 26-year veteran who's going through some anxiety on a real or an imagined threat. Can you imagine someone who is not trained, who has never been in law enforcement, who's only 20 years old, and it's fight or flight because he understands what a George Floyd situation is. He understands what a Breonna Taylor.
Obviously, he didn't, Tom. Because
but I mean, again, when I'm saying that in terms of his life being an imminent threat, and it's fight or flight. And so
don't fight. Don't fight or flight.
We have another caller.
Okay.
Hello, caller. Black men speak. Hello, caller. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, there we go. We can hear you now.
We're short on time, caller, so speak up.
Okay, so I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm sorry. So I wanted to respond to the young lady who called previously.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to respond to the young lady who called previously. So I just wanted to make the comment that 26-year veteran or not, to your point, Tommy, these are high stress situations that require split second decisions, that people are actually not infallible, meaning anybody, everybody can make a mistake. I know we as black people don't allow for it, and unfortunately, because police hold the power of life and death in their
They
hands,
certainly do.
it is less forgivable, but it does happen. So her supposed accident, and I could see the air quotes going up, could actually be a thing. And I mean, how does a police person or a police officer, how do they make a mistake and get any kind of forgiveness for that? I mean, just for argument's sake, say it was literally an honest mistake. How do they get any forgiveness for that? They don't. And as a 26-year veteran, if you read up on her, she has never had problems with this type of thing. So it's not like she's got a pattern of doing this. To the young lady who calls, I did say those people, meaning people who are in these situations that resist arrest, people that are in these situations that have something that the police are trying to arrest them for. They just need to be calm, as Mr. Stewart said, and not escalate the situation. And I'm, as a Christian, gonna sit here and say, and as a black person who grew up in the hood, so I've seen some things that every shooting of a black man is not racially motivated.
No, I'd agree. I don't think that's the inference.
Well, if you listen to the argument, even by you, Tommy, that's what it sounds like.
I didn't say every one of them, but I didn't say every one of them, but I would say this.
Y'all pray for both sides of this. Tommy, you seem to be pretty focused on the fact that he's 20.
Oh,
He's
that
20 and
that makes a
making
difference.
bad decisions.
I would say that makes a difference
I'm praying
because
for his family. I'm praying for the police officer and her family, and that's all we can do now.
I would agree. Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you, caller. There's one more thing. There's one more thing we have to factor in here. Being a 26-year veteran. Now, when you hear over the radio that there's a warrant out for aggravated robbery, we don't know what the aggravation is for. We know it's a weapon. That's how you get the aggravated attribute added to the charge. We don't know if it was a gun, it was a knife, we don't know if it was a toothpick, a pen. We don't know what it is, but we know it's a weapon. And being a 26-year veteran, she's probably seen enough cases knowing that these aggravated charges are really placed on people who've done bad stuff, beat people up, injured people, killed people. So in that situation, it probably would have been less heightened if it was just a robbery charge. You know, you robbed some lady, took her purse or something, and ran off. Versus aggravated robbery. That puts everybody on a little more on guard at that point. So I'm not saying that that's an excuse for her shooting him. I'm just saying that that would give any cop just a little more cause to be a little more cautious in that situation. And we already know that, like I said, when things get elevated, they're a lot more likely to pull a trigger on us and our people with our color than anyone else. So, like I said, armed with that knowledge, we have to start educating our people and training our people, and especially our young kids. So when they find themselves in that situation, getting pulled over for a traffic stop, what to do and what not to do, so you'll live to be to another birthday and to the ripe old age that you're desired, that you're supposed to live to, and not end up in some casket 6 feet under. And we're all saying that this is a tragedy that this person's life was taken from them way too early.
You're right, Jimmy, and I think this is you're right. It's an unfortunate truth, but
Very
you're correct.
unfortunate.
Because I mean, think about it. Whether you are a mother, raising children, no, whether you're a black mother raising children or a black father raising black children or a black mother and a black father raising black children, there's always the proverbial conversation about the birds and the bees. But, this is a real conversation
We
that
should
folks
have.
within our community have to have that, quite frankly, other communities don't particularly have to have. And I'm not saying that it's something that shouldn't happen. It should happen. But quite frankly, even at a very young age, when you have a kid who is barely a teenager, I believe it was, I forgot whether it was in New York, kid had a toy gun. Law enforcement officer stops, gets out of their car, shoots the kid dead. Kid has a toy gun. Kid doesn't even know what is
Right.
happening before he's dead. And so, our
But
community
I
has to
remember
have
that
these.
case, and the red paint that is supposed to be on the tip of the gun that somehow indicated it's a toy gun was not. I don't know if it worn off or what, but it wasn't there, and that cop and those cops drove up on that kid and got far too close. They should have stayed back another 20, 30 yards. They could have watched the kid from a distance, called in for reinforcement. Um, they could have, stayed behind their car and used their bullhorn to provide instructions for the kid. But by driving that close and then
And
getting out
shot
of
him
the
dead
car,
on the spot.
yeah, they did, Tom, and that was unfortunate. Because once again, by making that mistake of getting too close and seeing a gun, and it's a black kid, bam,
The kid,
we already know the outcome.
and a kid that age, not even a teenager, are they supposed to know that?
The child, no, but
I mean, and kids of all ages, all ethnicities play with toy guns.
right, Tom. But
And
here,
so
here's, but here,
is it the
but
kids? So
no,
is
it's
it
the
the
parents.
kids'
It's the parents'
responsibility?
responsibility in that point to make sure that the tip of that gun is painted red, so as to at least give law enforcement a chance to know that this is a toy gun. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to save you, but on top of that, I would make sure my kids play with their toy guns in my yard or backyard, not in a park where the cops could pull up on you and think that you are a threat to society or even worse, a threat to them. So the parents should have made sure that that gun was painted with a red tip, unless they didn't know. But still, having your child out there playing with a gun like that, it looks very. These
And
guns
and
now look
and,
very realistic.
and
And,
Jimmy, what you have to understand is you have the benefit of a background in military, understanding and workings with ammunitions, and you know something about law enforcement. The average parent isn't going to know about a red tip on a gun that would cue to law enforcement that it's not
okay,
real.
Tom, our parents should know this. It's just part of keeping your child safe.
I can guarantee you most parents don't. I can
Okay,
guarantee.
if that's the case, do not let your child play with toy guns. Then, if you don't know that, I'm not trying to make this a laughing matter. I'm very serious.
Because that's a
Parents
kid.
out
That's
there,
a kid's life gone. That wasn't even a teenager.
if they have a BB gun, they have a toy gun, a pellet gun, whatever it is, if it's not real, paint the tip of it red, so that at least gives law enforcement an opportunity to know that maybe potentially this is a toy gun. I'm not saying it's going to save your child's life, but it may help. With that being said, Tom, we are a little over, but I don't
Yeah.
mind going long when we have a very good topic. Our check the chat line. Oh, the person is sharing some more information. So it looks like Wright, he said, was facing. She says Wright was facing charges, attempted robbery charge over an
Okay.
incident
So
where.
the
Okay,
man
we're
is dead. The
okay, but
man is
hold
dead.
on.
So are we charging him?
No, no, just saying what the charge with warrant is for. Attempted.
Okay, but
Hold on,
are
Tom.
we
But,
charging a dead man with the crime?
what I'm saying is that this contributes to the psyche of the officers. Attempted robbery where he choked a woman and held her at gunpoint. So this is the aggravated piece. And this is what I'm trying to say, that officers understand that aggravated piece. They may not know exactly what he did, but they know that it's aggravated for a reason. And so they're going to take extra precautions, be extra sensitive when you're dealing with someone who's already choked someone and held them at gunpoint. So this is not. I'm not saying that he
So
deserves to die. What I'm
it
saying
sounds like
is
you're blaming a man who's been
no,
murdered with
Tom.
a
Well, Tom,
crime.
actually, well, he did commit the crime
No, no, no,
allegedly.
no. What I'm saying is you are blaming the man for being murdered by a police officer.
No,
You're
Tom.
blaming
What,
him.
what I'm blaming him for is his actions. If he engaged in these activities, he has contributed to this whole environment of how people view him. That's the point. The officers who
Okay,
rolled up on him
and
viewed him a certain way.
how long do those charges stay on your record?
I don't know, Tom. They probably stay on it
Okay,
forever.
so there are a lot of people who have something on their record, right?
Right.
So does that mean that everybody who has something on their record should literally be in a life or death situation just because they
No,
get
but
stopped
if
by
you
officer
if you
call?
got a bunch of aggravated charges on your record,
A
officers going to.
bunch. How many aggravated assault charges did he
What
get to his
Tom?
record?
Actually, we reversed the situation. If it was me and I was a law enforcement officer and I'm pulling someone over and I hear their rap sheet that says aggravated anything, um, yeah, I'm
You're gonna
gonna
shoot
be.
them dead.
No,
You're
I'm
gonna
not gonna
shoot
shoot
them
him
dead.
dead. No, I'm not gonna shoot him dead. But you know what? I'm gonna be very cautious. I wouldn't even walk
Okay,
up.
of
I'm not
course.
even gonna walk up on your car. And officers who do this for a living, I'm always amazed that you will walk up on someone's car, let them roll the window down, the way things are tinted, you can't see inside, and then ask them for some ID. And you don't know what's on the other side of that window. I mean, that is extremely brave for me. I'd be in my squad car shouting to you to get out the damn car and let me see your hand with my gun pulled for a traffic stop. That's the way I would do it. Because I'm not going to walk up on your car and get shot. I'm trying to go home that night or that afternoon or whatever the situation is. But what I'm saying is that everyone is concerned about their own self-interest, Tom. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I understand how things are getting heightened, and he contributed to how the law enforcement saw him that day. He's the one who was wanted on this for this warrant. He's the one who allegedly committed this crime, held a woman at gunpoint. They don't know what kind of person they're dealing with. We see him as a nice, innocent kid, father of a little child, parents who say he was a nice kid, just trying to get through life, working two jobs. Law
The
enforcement,
point, the point is the man was murdered unnecessarily.
Tom
I
Murray.
understand. I understand. I understand. We want to basically put him on trial.
It would probably be more accurate to say he was killed.
Now, maybe the man should be in a pretrial facility. Maybe the man needs some counseling. I mean, if he killed somebody, maybe he should be in jail. But the question
Okay,
is,
with Tom.
should he be dead today? No.
First of all, we should maybe refrain from using the term murder. That's a legal term. So
Well,
he was killed.
it's homicide. Yeah,
He was killed.
yeah, he was. He was
Okay,
killed.
so he lost his life. So let's just leave it at
Yeah, he
that.
did.
But
And
but
we can't trivialize that.
well, it's not being trivialized. I'm just saying that there are mitigating circumstances that contribute to how he was viewed by law enforcement. That he played a hand in that time. He wasn't totally innocent in this.
Okay, so again, I get that, but again, maybe he should have been taken in, but that doesn't mean that he should have been killed.
That is true. And
That's all I'm saying.
so
And that's all anybody is saying.
and
Why did he have to die?
he didn't have to die, Tom. It wasn't like everybody woke up that morning and said, "I'm going to kill somebody."
Well, I
It
know
was
that.
it was
But
an
the thing about
accident.
it-
So
and
all we have is an
and
officer
Jimmy,
who
this is
pulled the
point.
trigger, who
He
said it
died.
was an accident.
He died because he was black, because he was considered
No,
a
Tom.
threat.
He died
Because
because hold on,
quite
Tom.
frankly, Jimmy, I've seen too many cases where you had white men who were in
Tom,
similar situations.
I know you want to make this a white black situation.
No. But I'm telling you, there is a difference. There are two sets of rules, Jimmy.
Tom,
Let's
we've already explained
So
how you were perceived by different colored people
exactly.
by
So
law.
all I'm saying
Okay,
is I've
so
seen white men assault officers and just get away scot free
okay, so they didn't see that person as a threat. It's a case by case basis.
because he's white.
Okay, and so black people are viewed differently. And I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that we don't, but we contribute to that also, Tom. So it's not like we just woke up one day born black and then just found the world this way. We help shape the world and how the world sees us through our own actions. He set in motion when he
We
robbed.
we don't shape how the world sees
Yes, we
us.
do, Tom.
No, we don't.
Tom, you okay?
We don't have the
You work.
control.
You work in technology,
I do.
but for the prison industry.
Mhm.
And when you have 6% of the population, black men, who are committing over now 50% of the country's murders, that is very disproportionate.
And it's also very disproportionate when black men are put in prison 5 to 6 times more than their white counterparts for the same crime. That's disproportionate.
It depends on the priors, but that could be true too on
It's the same.
sentencing.
it is the truth. I mean, for the same crime, Jimmy, they are disproportionately
And
incarcerated
that
for
is
the
true,
same
Tom. And we
crime.
had that conversation before.
Just exactly.
If you have priors
Yeah.
that contribute to that, you can commit the same crime.
Priors to do.
Yeah, it does, Tom. You're going to end up with more time if you have priors. If you're a first time offender and I've done this 8 times and we do the same crime, I'm going to serve more time. You may get off with probation or parole, probation, and allowed to go your way. That's just a fact of an overcrowded system. The system is trying to get these people out of jail, keep them out because they don't have space for them. So they're very lenient a lot of times for first offenders, second offenders. Hell, sometimes I have relatives who third and fourth offenders, and the system is still being generous to them.
What it seems like you're saying is that black folks are just criminally inclined by nature.
No, Tom, I'm saying is that young man, by choking a woman, holding her at gunpoint, and robbing her, he set in motion some events that helped contribute to his death. He played a hand in that. He's not totally innocent. I'm not saying that she didn't make a mistake, that it wasn't that what she did was right. No, we can determine how
Okay,
wrong
I
she
get it. I
was.
get it. Blame him on his death. At the end
Blame
of the
him
day.
for what he did to contribute to his death. Yeah,
No, blaming him for his death is what it
there's a
sounds like.
difference, Tom. You know, if you go out and take all your money out of the bank and run to Vegas with some get quick rich scheme of playing the slots, and you lose all your money, you set in motion for this to happen. It had nothing to do with the machines being rigged, which they may be, the system being crooked, or the hotels being run by the mafia. All that
Well,
may be true.
I can tell you this: if you play a lot of money on the slot machines, my advice: if you hit it, you better run real quick because they're in the
Yes, you
business.
can.
They're in the business of getting their money back.
They that not only get it
But
back, Tom, they get some more of yours in addition. So that's
but
how
I
they stay
digress.
in business. But the point is that we do need to educate our young people on a lot of
That I agree.
things,
We agree on that.
and on top of that, like I said, if you put in motion, I really don't want to hear how great a young man he was, trying to be a father, trying to be this and that. When you have choked a young lady, held her at gunpoint, that gun could have gone off accidentally.
Jimmy, I'm not saying that the man didn't have. We're diverting from this situation. We're talking about something that happened in his past. I understand that this may have contributed to the fact that they held him or were trying to detain him because of something that happened in the past. But we're focused on why did this man die? And what you're saying is he died because of something that happened with the prior charge. He did not have to die for that.
Tom, I did not say that.
He shouldn't have
And,
died for that.
and so you have a knack for contributing things to me that I didn't say. What I said was he contributed to it, Tom. I didn't say that was a cause.
Well,
I'm
you
saying
said
he
he
added to
contributed
it.
to it.
Yes, he did. He did. He had a contribution to it. There were mitigating circumstances that he
shouldn't have
contributed to it.
died.
And if he hadn't,
Died.
and Tom, you know what? You don't do any of that. He's not having. He's still alive right now. He may have died from something else, but if he don't rob somebody, he's not warranted. Have a warrant out for his arrest for aggravated robbery at gunpoint. You know what that does to a cop when they hear that you have committed a crime with a gun. They don't. At that point, they don't know what you have in that car. They don't know what you're
Okay,
capable of. So
I
so
understand.
so so if you don't do any of that, he's still living today. And I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm saying he had a hand in it. So we need to understand that even like the case we felt differently on with a young lady who's dating a coward who left her out in the hallway to take bullets while he duck and hide without pulling her or pushing her to the side or jumping in front of her and covering her up. You don't date that knucklehead, you may
Maybe
still
if
be
you're not shooting,
living.
maybe if you're not shooting 20 bullets, she doesn't die.
Well, if you don't shoot at the cops and they come to knock on the door, yeah. You may not
Again,
be facing 20,
so
20 bullets in
one
return.
thing we know by the forensics, it was one bullet that went out and 20 some bullets that went in.
Tom, you know what? How many bullets have to go out before you? Okay, one came
20
out.
something, 20 some bullets,
If it's
20
you,
something,
are you telling
20
me
something,
if
20
you?
something bullets, Jimmy.
I do
20
remember,
something bullets.
Tom. See, you forget, Tom, that I've known you a very long time.
And I've known you too.
Okay, and so I remember at one point you were thinking about becoming an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And if you just imagine if you had, and that's you knocking on someone's door to go arrest them, and a bullet comes through that door, how are you going to sit there and say, "Well, only one bullet came through the door. I'm only going to
No.
fire back one time."
But I can tell you this, Jimmy.
Okay.
one bullet comes out doesn't equate to 20
How
something
many?
bullets.
What's okay? Then
I
what's the
mean,
correct response then? If it's you,
it
how many times?
because I
How
mean,
many times did you
one
fire
bullet,
back?
one bullet is okay. 20 something bullets is we taking you down.
Okay, Tom, you're avoiding the question.
No,
Answer
I'm
the
not.
question.
No, no, no.
One
I'm
okay.
not avoiding the question.
If it's you at the door and one bullet comes through that door, how many bullets do you fire back? If it's you, do you just say, "Hey, it was just one bullet, guys"?
It depends, Jimmy. In this case, it depends on your intent. If your intent is to kill everybody in there, then I guess it does take 20 something bullets. Because
One
by that
bullet,
time, by that time, by 20 something bullets, whoever's in there ought to be dead. So I
and
guess
notice,
if we're talking
notice,
about that, then yeah, I guess 20 something bullets
I
to
want our
kill everybody
listeners,
in there.
I want our listeners to see how
And the
Tommy
only
top
and,
dances around the question. I've
no,
asked
no,
him
no,
three
no, Jimmy,
times and he
Jimmy,
still haven't
Jimmy.
answered.
I'm not. No,
How
I have.
how many
I
bullets
have.
do you return?
How many bullets did I
If it's
return?
you, if it's you knocking on that door to go arrest somebody and a bullet comes flying through the door, how many bullets do you say I'm gonna fire back once? Since you only shot at me once, I'm only gonna shoot at you once. How
No.
many bullets? What's the
In my
correct
case,
number?
Jimmy, we're talking about a couple of bullets. And when I say a couple of bullets, it's a couple of bullets that, okay,
How
obviously,
many times? It's a simple number.
Jimmy,
Is it
Jimmy, I
one? Is
don't,
it
Jimmy,
five? Is it
Jimmy,
10?
I'm not,
What's your number?
I can tell you it ain't 10.
How
I can
many
tell
is
you,
it?
I can tell you probably it ain't five
The-
because Jimmy, listen, let me finish. The intent is not to kill everybody in the room. The intent is to get whomever's in that room to
you know
stand
what,
down and
Tom?
come back.
That
Does
is
not,
that
that
is
does not
easy.
take, that does not take 20 something bullets, Jimmy. That's what
No,
I'm saying.
Tom. Once you fire at a cop, is whatever number of bullets to get the situation in
To kill
control.
that person.
If that's
I
what they
understand that.
if
And
that's what
Jimmy,
they have to do, Tom.
what I'm saying is, Jimmy, if I'm intending to kill that person, then maybe I am shooting
No,
20
Tom.
something
You
bullets.
intended
But
to
if
stay
my intent,
alive.
Jimmy, if there's one bullet that comes out, if I'm shooting 20 something bullets, I have a specific intent.
Well, first of all,
That's all I'm saying.
it wasn't one person who shot 20 some bullets. Tom, there were three officers at that
I know
door.
that. I know that,
All
Jimmy.
of them returned fire.
I didn't say it was just one person.
Okay,
All I'm suggesting is with
all of
20
them
something bullets,
returned
there's a
all of them
specific
returned
intent.
fire, and I've asked you once again. You never gave me an answer. This is going to be the fifth time.
Jimmy, but you're asking a question that doesn't make sense. I understand what you're saying. I understand
You
the
want to
intent,
apply?
but I'm not
Okay,
going to tell you three. I'm not going to tell you two bullets. I'm not going to tell you five bullets.
then
I'm going to
Tom,
tell you what my
then
Jimmy.
don't make it
Listen,
seem as though
Jimmy,
20 bullets is unfair. Then, if you're not
yes,
going
I
to
did.
answer,
Jimmy,
if you want to use a
Jimmy,
number,
Jimmy, you act like you're not understanding what I'm saying.
I
And
do,
I
Tom.
told you
That's why I'm asking you the question the way I asked.
the intent. I said
Because I know that I know the
you're
question's
not
gonna.
letting me finish. You're
I
not
know
letting me
I
finish.
already know the question's
You're
gonna
not letting
jam
me
you
finish.
up
You're not letting me
because
finish.
you won't answer.
Yes, I am. I am answering you, Jimmy. And what you're not understanding is I'm not answering the way you want me to answer. But what I'm telling you is this. I'm not shooting 20 something bullets there unless I want to kill them. So I'm not shooting 20, I'm not shooting 10. My intent is to get whomever is in there to stand down and to come out. Now, if you got more bullets coming, we're having a different conversation. But I don't need, and me and three other people don't need to shoot 20 something bullets to get someone to put their arm down and come down. Now, if they want to continue to shoot, then yeah, it's on. But that's not the situation.
You know what, Tom? I don't believe you. I think it's
You don't
easy.
have to.
I
You
think
don't
it's
have to.
easy when your life is not on the
You-
line. But if you're at
I
that
would-
door and that bullet comes through that door, when that bullet actually hit one of the officers when it came through the door. So okay, you're one of three. An officer just got hit by a bullet coming through the door, and you telling me you're going to be controlled, disciplined? I just want to get the person out and
Well, they
de-escalate
are,
the situation.
Jimmy, they are trained.
They're trained to shoot back. Yes, that's exactly. They did exactly what they were trained to do.
So that's all they do. That's all they're trying to do is just shoot. They don't have a mind, Jimmy.
Tom, you know what?
They're just trying to shoot.
All this rational thinking that you think should
Anything that
occur.
happens, anything just happened. Just shoot as many bullets as you got.
No, it's shoot as many bullets you have to stay safe and get back home. One of your
Okay,
officers has already
so-
been shot,
So
is
you
already
shoot-
wounded.
so what you're telling me?
You
is
don't know, Tom.
Someone shoots one bullet, and it doesn't. After you shot 20 something bullets, you're a trained officer. They go through training every day.
There you go, the numbers
Well,
again. You don't want to
and-
give a number, but you want to keep throwing 20 bullets out.
No, Jimmy. There is no accurate answer. But what I'm telling you is, it ain't 20 bullets.
Then
It ain't
stop with
20
this. Why you
something
keep throwing out 20 bullets as if it's unreasonable?
because that is the low number of what they shot in there. There was one bullet. If the forensics exam, Jimmy, one bullet came out. 20 something bullets came in.
One, Tom.
It was-
Okay. Once again, high speed. One bullet comes through that door, hits an officer, that officer's injured. You think officers are trained at that point to sit there and have a philosophical discussion about, hey, we should wait. Look at our watches here. Let's give it some more time. See how many bullets come through the door. Because our
I never,
goal is to get the
never said
person
that, Jimmy.
who
Never
just
said that,
shot
Jimmy.
us. Our goal is to get that person out
Never said that,
safely
Jimmy.
after this
Now
person
you
just
did.
shot one of our
I never
officers.
said that. I never said that. All I said is this is my intent. With my intent, Jimmy, I never said something about looking at a watch. I said my intent, and if my intent is to take everything in there down, then yeah, maybe 20 something bullets
So
is the
you
right
can't
number.
tell me how long you're supposed to wait to see if another bullet comes, because you don't know if this is the only bullet. There may be
Yeah.
other bullets later on. You don't know. So all you know is if one bullet came through and shot somebody. How many more bullets would have to come through that door and shoot an officer
Jimmy,
before you,
this is
you
the fact.
return fire?
But the facts are only one bullet came out.
Okay, but
That's all.
one bullet because they returned fire. We don't know how many bullets would have come through the door if they hadn't returned fire.
Only one bullet came out, Jimmy. That's all we can talk about because that's all that happened.
And once again,
And again, and then you take out the context of what happened,
Right.
the time of night that it happened.
all right.
So again, we don't want to retry that right now. We don't have the time. We've almost been at an hour. Let's get back to the.
And even back then, you wouldn't answer the questions, just like you're not answering the questions now. But you were good at ducking and dodging, though.
I'm not going to fall into that trap, Jimmy. But let's get back.
And we
to
need to teach our law enforcement officers this duck and dodging skill of yours, that maybe they would be in less danger.
Back to the main motion, which is Daunte Wright, Jimmy. And at the end of the day,
Daunte Wright,
I don't
unfortunately, let's
I
pray
don't-
for that man's family. Let's pray for the officer who made the mistake. This has been a tragic situation all the way around. It does not warrant us protesting or going to the streets, destroying property, or fighting among ourselves. I mean, none of that. Let's make sure that we start doing the things we have to do to keep our young people alive by giving them the training and knowledge that they need. One, let's take away this whole boogeyman, being scared of the boogeyman with our young people to think that they have to be scared of law enforcement. They don't. So there's a certain way that you can respond and behave, and I guarantee you 99.99% of the time your interaction will be okay. And if the officer does something wrong, we can debate it, protest it, file a complaint after the fact. But at least you're alive. Don't put them in a situation where they have to use some kind of force against you, because it may not turn out well for you. And we can talk about how unfair the world is all we want, Tom, but um, and my wife hates this quote, but I got it from Living Single. If life was fair, broads would come in one size. So anyway, we are over time. Not everybody gets that quote, but I get it.
Jimmy, what size would the brawl be?
I don't know. I guess she's saying that it's not fair that women have different breast sizes and require different bras. That if life was fair, everybody would have the same chest size and everybody would have the same bra. So, but because we all have different bras, and some are more endowed, some are less endowed, some have attractive, high, low, saggy, firm, whatever the case may be. But life is not fair, at least when it comes to breast sizes and shapes and sizes. So, but that's a quote. It's not mine. It's something I borrowed. Like I said, the missus doesn't like it. But anyway, Tom, we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
We're going over a long time. We want to thank our callers and those who contribute on the chat line. We did have a couple more comments. Let's get to the last two or three before we close out. So, I think you have.
I got you. And we kind of covered, through some of these.
Okay.
And we've talked through most of these, so I think we're good.
All right. So anyway, we want to encourage you to come back next Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central Time. And feel free to put your comments on the chat board. And if you want to call in, the number is posted 972-497-2280 on the screen there. And we're going to pray for the Wright family and for the family of this officer, and put it in God's hand, and hope that there's something good to come out of this. I hate for this young man to die for nothing. So Tom, go ahead and close it out with a prayer. And like I said, don't forget the ancestors, don't forget the Wright family, and don't forget this officer's family, as we wish everyone the best in this situation.
Dear Lord and gracious Father, we come before you again. Thank you for bringing us together. We thank you for giving us another day, Father. We thank you for the shoulders that we stand on. We thank you for those who came before us, our parents, our great grandparents, all of our ancestors, Father. We thank you even for those who come after us, Father, for everything that you've done in our hearts and in our lives, Father. We thank you for everybody that has been torn over the tragedy of what has happened in our country throughout this past week, this past month, this past year, Father. From families on all sides of the situation, nobody wins when things like this happen, Father. And we ask that you would somehow bring us together, that you would continue to work on peace, humanity, and parity in our country and throughout the world. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Tom, one of your better prayers, man.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, one of your better prayers, man. So with that, everyone, we're going to say good night. And